It's time to issue letter grades, guys. And this, I don't think, is going to be very difficult at all. But we will try our best here to come up with a way to not give these guys all A pluses. I think this is going to be a rather easy grade card to assume. Chris, you want to start with the offense or defense first, man?
Let's start with the offense.
All right. Offensively, uh, we had 319 passing yards, 181 rushing yards for 500 total yards of offense, 8.8 yards per play, 20 first downs. We were 4 of 11 on third down. We never went for a fourth down. Um, we had no turnovers and we possessed the ball for 29 minutes and 5 seconds. Chris, your offensive letter grade.
Well, Eric, I don't give out A pluses. I don't
Until
believe in giving
today.
out A pluses. A plus.
Yeah.
I can't give them anything but they look good. They look great. Like I said, it was a juggernaut. A plus.
Cory.
A. Um, I want that run game to get a little better. At times it looked good with the big play with Trevian Henderson, but I'd like it to be more consistent. That being said, actually, believe it or not, a couple guys like Josh Fryer and Tegra graded out kind of poorly for this game. It kind of shocked me, but so I'll go A on that one because there's always room for improvement, and you're going to have to bring your A plus game against Texas. I understand people disrespect Texas because they haven't put it together this year, but they are a very talented team. So I think there's always room for improvement. Hey, I'll say this though: Jeremiah Smith gets an A plus.
Hey, Cory.
Hmm.
Were you looking at the PFF scores as far as how they graded out?
No, I was talking to a friend of mine who kind of
Okay.
has a friend
Like
on
I
the
said, because
program.
nobody can make sense of the PFF scores.
No,
So
PFF. I mean, they said that Quinn Ewers is the highest graded QB of the playoffs, and I was like, yeah, right. Okay, I don't want to hear it. So no, it's not PFF. No.
okay.
Yeah, I got to go with an A as well. Would have liked to see, more than 7 points in the second half. They had that 3-and-out there to begin. You have that middle eight, right? Ryan Day preaches about it all the time. The last 4 minutes of the first half, and then the first 4 minutes of the second half, and they didn't win that. So I think even Ohio State would agree that to me it wasn't an A plus performance, but the first 6 or 7 drives there, you couldn't get more A plus than that. You just have to finish the game. Finish the game. I would have loved to see another touchdown or two, but I know I'm being nitpicky right now, so an A is not bad, but just how incredible is Jeremiah Smith? How amazing has Will Howard gotten? The offensive line blocking. All we hear every single every single week, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's Oregon, is how amazing the defensive line of the other team is, and then our offensive line 2 weeks in a row has come in and just manhandled them, and they've not been able to do anything. So at this point, I'm still cautiously optimistic with the offensive line. I don't want to put all my trust in them yet, but at the same time, I'm looking at what they're doing and saying it doesn't get much better than this when you have your two best starters both injured. It doesn't get much better than this.
And you don't give up any sacks.
Yeah. Well, and there was one sack.
They didn't credit it as a sack. They credited that as Howard running.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Let me ask you guys a quick question before I give my letter grade. Was this offense performance against Oregon more or less impressive than what they did against Tennessee? Go. Chris.
More.
Cory.
I go a little less.
Really?
Mhm.
How so?
I think I don't know. I think some of it was just Jeremiah Smith making big plays. Is in this one. I think the offense for the against Tennessee, I think the offensive line did a little bit better job as far as in the run game and things like that. I understand we didn't have any sacks, but even like on the pass to Jeremiah Smith, where he made just a big play between 2 or 3 Oregon defenders, where it was actually kind of funny where the Oregon defender tried to do the incomplete sign, didn't realize Jeremiah had caught it. You saw 2 guys bearing down on Will Howard. I think that's just Will Howard making plays, and the offensive line not quite because you saw Tegra trip over the guy. I don't stuff like that. I think needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Justin Fry was actually kind of pissed during this game a little bit. So I go
Well,
Tennessee.
that play you speak of, Justin Fry was chewing out Tager, who was like a fish out of water, flailing on the ground,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it was kind of funny. But all right, Jr., more or less impressive.
I'd say more just because of it wasn't at home and it was against a better opponent.
It's way more impressive. Go look at the statistics. Go look at the rushing yards. Um, the only thing I can nitpick on this team is third down. Um, that's it. No turnovers. Um, very, very impressive. You play that way next 2 games, you're national champions. All right, time to switch it over to the defensive side of the ball. Defensively, we gave up 299 passing yards, a lot of which was, trash yards, and those middle 8 that JR pointed out. Negative 23 rushing yards for 276 total yards, 3.9 yards per play. They gave up 15 first downs. Oregon was 8 of 19 on third down, 2 of 3 on fourth down. They did not create a turnover, although they were very close multiple times. And Oregon possessed the ball for 30 minutes and 55 seconds. Chris, your offensive letter grade. Or excuse me, defensive letter grade. Sorry.
I'd really love to go A plus. I can't. They gave up an awful lot of passing yards. I know some of them were in slop time, but you still gave up nearly 300 yards passing. I'm still going to go with a solid A. It's borderline A plus. I could be convinced, but I'm going to go with an A right now.
Okay. Let's see what Cory says. Let's see if
I'll
he'll
go
convince you.
A. I agree with
Okay.
Chris. It's a little bit too many passing yards. I will say this though. First of all, we played a better quarterback than we did against Tennessee. Dylan Gabriel is a much better
And,
college quarterback
and
than
8
Nico.
sacks.
Yeah, 8 sacks. But Dylan, I think what Dylan was doing, it wasn't so much defensive breakdowns. He was just starting to improv and play really well sandlot football. Nothing seemed to be on script for Oregon. So Dylan just is what he is. He's a really, really good college quarterback, and you knew they weren't going to hold him down forever. I will say though, 2 of those touchdowns were frustrating, especially when Holden stepped out of bounds and came back in and drove him down late. That didn't
Yeah.
get called. Or on the touchdown pass to Holden, the last touchdown, Jack Sawyer's just getting his throat ripped apart. I mean, it's just like, can anybody call holding on for our guys ever? It's insane. You saw how pissed off I was about Will K getting called, but none of our guys ever get called. JT's getting tackled every other play. They allowed 21 points. I still think it should have been closer to 7 to 10 based on what didn't get called. But that being said, yeah, a lot of pass yards. But I think we played a little bit to put it on ice in the second half, and I think that's kind of what started to happen.
You're muted, JR.
My bad. I'll go with an A plus in this one just because of the holding and everything else. I felt like every time that Oregon did something, they were just strangling the Jack Sawyer and JT and everybody else. So, I'm not one to make excuses, but if I'm just looking at it and being honest, like they held them every single play. It was never called. It's absolutely ridiculous. There should be some kind of investigation into the refereeing that is going on right now. I'm convinced somebody is paying them. I'm not, I don't have any information on that, but I'm just convinced from the outside looking in because you can't have that many holds, and Ohio State gets called for a hold, and
On a
then
pancake.
on a pancake, which wasn't even a hold. So I I'm baffled at this point. It is completely ridiculous. And if I'm Ryan Day, I am making a point to stand next to a referee and point out every single hold on the first drive of the game. I know you want to manage the game and everything else, but if I'm him, I stand next to that referee and I say, holding right there, holding right there, holding. I point out every single one and I make sure they know that I'm not going to let it go for the entire game because it's absolutely ridiculous at this point.
Yeah,
But
go to
it's been
before the
that way
game and
all
say
season.
something.
All
Yes.
season it's been that way.
Yeah.
I felt like this game was particularly bad.
Yeah,
It
it was
was.
really
I'm
bad.
not saying it hasn't been bad the entire season, but this game, the Oregon offensive line learned they just had free reign to strangle JT and Jack.
I was
as
gonna
much
say
as they
one guy
wanted.
had Jack Sawyer in a headlock at one point.
Mhm.
Yes.
Literally had him in a headlock.
One guy was piggyback riding JT on
Yeah.
a goal
Yep.
line play. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
Woo! ACC. That's who we're
Yeah.
going to get for a third straight game. ACC
Yay.
refs. So expect more of the same, fellers.
Does that stand for
Um,
all cheating counts?
I don't know. Does it? I thought that was what the motto was in Ann Arbor.
That too.
Oh, okay. A plus. It's got to be an A plus, man. It's such an A plus. Oh, by the way, so rewatch the game. I was on my third rewatch today, and this time I watched mostly. I kind of fast forward through a lot of the offense, and I literally just watched the defensive line play. That's all I watched this third rewatch. 8 sacks. Would you guys like to take a guess how many of them were coverage sacks versus straight up we beat our man, or it was a blitz, we went untouched and we drilled Dylan Gabriel?
I'd say 3 were coverage sacks.
Cory, you want to take a guess?
50% of them.
Okay, you say 4. JR?
5.
3, 4, 5.
Cory was right. It was 4. 4 coverage sacks, 2 sacks on blitzes, one from Lathan Ransom, where he came in untouched, and the other one was Cody Simon, came in untouched on another blitz. His was a delayed blitz. It was beautiful. He read that baby like a book, and Dylan Gabriel crapped his pants when he saw the helmet breaker buster coming around the corner. And then other 2 were defensive lines just beat their guy straight up one move, and he had no time to throw the ball, and he got hit. But the other 4 were straight up coverage sacks. Nobody was open. He's scrambling around trying to make a play, try to get open, couldn't get anybody open, and got sacked. That happened once for JT, happened once, I believe, for Jack, happened once for Caden Curry had a sack, and I can't remember who the other one might. I think it was one of the defensive tackles. Anyways, A plus for me. Those are your letter grades, guys. Thank you very much for participating with that.